All right, guys, this right here, this is why I made this channel. This man is his tag channel. His name is the Reactionary Christian, and he's reacting to a video from a popular LDS podcast called The Stick of Joseph, which is a great podcast, and even they're they're funny, they're entertaining, and they have a lot of knowledge. So check it out for sure. So this guy is reacting to it, and we're going to react to that because I have qualms with this man, and you are going to see why very soon. So I'm going to play it. Good luck listening, your poor ears.
Wow. Okay, well, I mean, that was just a total train wreck. Pastor Mark Driscoll was the guy at the beginning who accurately described Mormonism.
The Book of Mormon is a series of lies inspired by a demon, nowhere near Christian orthodoxy.
The history of the
Okay, that's all right and true. In fact, if you want a class on how fake and gay Mormonism is, you can go to TheosU.com, or sorry, TheosU.ca, and we have a class that just came out on Mormonism taught by a guy named Josh Bidell, one of our faculty, and it's amazing, and it literally takes Mormonism apart and shreds it, and it's amazing. So
it's amazing. So we found another faculty member of TheosU. This guy just popped up, so maybe I screwed up my algorithm, but another man from Theos University talking about a class that is so amazing and so good and tears Mormonism apart and shows you how fake and gay Mormonism is. These are teachers, guys. Teachers. Not that people can't have opinions, but oh my goodness gracious. So, as we saw in a previous video, the class he is referring to does not tear apart Mormonism or show how fake and gay it is. It shows how ill-informed TheosU is. So he's on here talking about how the Stick of Joseph guys have such a low IQ take on heresy and orthodoxy, and how he is so smart and he knows better, and watch his class. Okay, guys, the TheosU class on Mormonism is incorrect, it is wrong, and it is not a valid resource for information about Mormonism. Now, I completely understand. People think it's a cult. People think this. I'm not even arguing that with these people, okay? I'm really not, because that's the second layer that we have to get to. We have to get through this first layer first, right? We have to get through the first part. Their information is wrong. The things that they are teaching are wrong. So that's what needs to be addressed, and then we can talk about why Mormonism isn't a cult and why they're incorrect there. But we need to get to the base level first, and so this is a problem, and it just something needs to be changed here. And if it was just a podcast, if it was just people talking, I'm still gonna disagree, but this is a university. This is something that people pay for. So this is an issue. It's an issue.
So take that if you want more. But basically, this guy, he goes into the nature of heresy, right? And listen to what he says.
Heresy and orthodoxy is so fascinating. Heresy and orthodoxy are basically just describing what the bounds of your own faith tradition are. Heresy is anything outside of your own faith tradition. Orthodoxy is anything that fits within those boundaries.
Okay, so this guy's take is so low IQ, it's disturbing. But really, what he ends up doing is, well, first of all, let's go to heresy. Heresy comes from the Greek word meaning to take, or to take something away from something, and so it's kind
of. Okay, so he goes on to give you an example of heresy. If you take something away, what he already gets wrong is the origin of heresy. The Greek word is something I can't pronounce, but it's actually to choose. It's heromai. And so it's to choose. Heresy is to choose. It's not to take. So everything from there he is incorrect about, because the basis for his argument is wrong. So no matter how many good takes he has or good examples to show you about why the Stick of Joseph boys are wrong, men, about heresy are wrong, it completely falls apart because he doesn't even start from the right place. Do you see the problem? I know you guys do. I don't understand why they don't. This man and Joshua Bidell, I figured out how to say his name, so that's great. They have it wrong. Their base of information is incorrect. So everything that they say going forward is unreliable and incorrect. And that needs to be addressed because you can't just okay, you can go on the internet and just say whatever you want, sure, and you can teach classes and say whatever you want, but it's wrong. It's immoral, it's unethical, and you should not be operating in that way. And if you are, then I'm just going to keep on getting on here and telling people how at least your Mormonism course is a scam and your teachers are highly uneducated in the things that they are talking about. So, and I'm really trying not to be confrontational. I'm really trying not to be like mean about this. I don't like being mean. I like trying to come from like a place of love, right? And so I'm not I don't know. I don't know.
Kind of like if I was to walk up to your car and take a wheel away from your car, that would be heresy because your car needs the wheel.
See, so that whole part is irrelevant because he doesn't even understand heresy. And yet he's calling these boys low IQ and that it's a train wreck. They don't know what they're talking about.
And it takes something away from something that is good, and really splinters something and divides something and hurts something and deforms something. So that's the proper understanding of what heresy means and meant to the early church. Heresy would attack orthodoxy. Let's say orthodoxy is the car. Heresy would go up to the car and take a tire off the car. And so it would affect the car. All these churches are trying to drive their orthodoxy, their car, and the heretics come and they take the tire away. They say, nope, you're not going anywhere in that. I'm going to put this tire on my car that I've built.
And to the point that he's trying to make anyway, the church is not heretical in that way, that it's not trying to take anything away from the church. And we've been over this too. They're not saying, okay, here's Jesus, here's the Bible, but we're going to take away the entire Old Testament. Because then, yeah, we wouldn't know how to drive the car for sure, because the Bible is the center of all of this. Jesus Christ is the center of all of this. So to your point, even with the what do you call it, metaphor that you're using, it doesn't apply either because the church is not taking anything away. We are adding to, sure, because we believe that there are things that got lost, and so the church is restoring those things and restoring that knowledge, but nothing is being taken away. Jesus Christ is the center of our church. It is the church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for a reason. Jesus Christ is right there. One of the biggest things that we talk about at our church is developing a personal relationship with Christ. And that's something that is, for me personally, super important. I've talked about this before, but I grew up Catholic. And with Catholicism, the go-between is the priest, right? You confess to the priest, you talk to him about your problems, you ask him to pray for you, things like that, right? Or, you pray to the saints on behalf of you, and learning how to have my own relationship with Christ has been a life changer for me. It's completely changed the way that I function in the world, and that is one of our main points, is Jesus Christ and doing those things. And so to say that it's heretical in your terms, taking something away, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're not doing that. So on both points, you're wrong. So
And I'm going to drive it to where I want to go. But really, orthodoxy comes from the Greek word meaning ortho, meaning right, and doxia or doxa, meaning thought. So right thinking. That is what orthodoxy means, to think the right way. So that's what those words meant to the early church and meant to early Christians. Oh, this is how we are supposed to think about Jesus. This is how we're supposed to think about the Bible. This is how we're supposed to think about God. This is how we're supposed to think about the sacraments. This is how we're supposed to think about the church and about all these various topics. So the church formulated, the creeds, the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, to help people to understand the basic framework of Christianity, so that they can think properly about Christianity. And
so they can think properly about Christianity. Have you guys tried to think properly and think about creeds at the same time and think about the Trinity? It's kind of impossible. You have to do some mental gymnastics to make the Trinity work. And even then, it doesn't work. It's like we trust the system kind of thing. And I don't know. I just like Assassin's Creed.
That those creeds represented all of the thought that was right about Christianity for since the beginning of Christianity, including obviously what the scriptures teach, because nothing in the Nicene Creed contradicts what the scriptures teach.
But the scriptures don't teach the creed. They don't teach the Trinity. It's not in the Old Testament. It's not in the New Testament. So saying that is incorrect too. And it wasn't taught by the apostles. It wasn't taught by Jesus Christ. It wasn't taught in the Old Testament. It wasn't. Believe in it if you want, and that's okay. And I don't think that should be the core take on what makes a Christian, because Jesus isn't telling people, hey, you can believe in me all you want, but if you don't believe in the creeds, that the man-made creeds, if you don't believe in the man-made creeds, then you are not actually following me. That doesn't count. He never said that. Now, he did say things about how you may act a certain way, but then when you call his name, he says, back off, I never knew you. That does not apply to the creeds. And I cannot believe some people use the argument that it does. That is man-made stuff. Man-made stuff. I think that's akin to saying, if you don't go confess to your priest that Jesus Christ is going to say he never knew you, you can repent. And if you, okay, so just everybody in the whole world, if they happen to not have a Catholic priest near them and be Catholic and go to confession, then they will never know Jesus? What? Who are we to put all of these limitations, one, on other people, but two, on Jesus? These putting limits on the divine is pretty, I think, stubborn thing to do. And to, I don't know, you guys are making some wild claims, Yeah.
But the writings of the Book of Mormon do contradict what the scriptures teach, and they also contradict the way that the scriptures have always been taught. And this is what this kid totally misses.
Actually, they don't. And as we know from your TheosU Mormonism video, and from this video now too, 2 for 2, we know that you actually have not read the Book of Mormon. So to make a claim saying that it is untrue and it teaches things that the scriptures don't teach, it's incorrect. And you, at the very least, you need to read the book so you can come from a place of good information, so you can make a good argument, because your arguments are just they're poorly constructed, for sure. And I am not an apologetic, right? I'm not a scriptorian. I am not a theologian. I am just upset. That's all.
Is that there's a history of interpretation. There's a long, long history of that you could trace back to the Apostles' Creed, but to the early church fathers in the 1st and 2nd and 3rd centuries, that basically tell you what the church believed. And so, so to be a Mormon, you have to completely dismiss church history. You have to act as though church history never happened, and it went from Jesus to Jesus dying and being buried and resurrected, and then it goes right to Joseph Smith. And Joseph Smith was Jesus's disciple.
It actually doesn't. And to highlight that, we have an entire song dedicated to the Apostle Paul and all of the teaching and preaching that he did in the many places that he did, because we read the New Testament. We believe in the apostles and the things that they taught. And it's a crazy long song, by the way, and I don't know how to explain it more, but it literally goes through his entire life as an apostle. So to say that it goes straight from Jesus dying to Joseph Smith it's also incorrect. It's not true. And then for you to say that we're ignoring church history when so much of church history is ignored by so many people because there were so many changes, and with like with the Catholics being like the head of the church for so long, and basically their interpretations were what everybody was going off of, right? That has changed greatly over the last 2,000 years. So you are probably ignoring a lot of church history just with that. And for a lot of people, they think that's okay because as long as they hold to those creeds, then everything else is just whatever. It doesn't matter. That's you're kind of contradicting yourself, being a little hypocritical. You are absolutely not practicing the things that they practiced.
You know, but you literally have to erase Christian history in order to be a Mormon. You have to act like it never happened, like it doesn't exist. And because Christian history is a total contradiction to, and the beliefs of Christian history that are consistent throughout Christian history are a total contradiction to Mormonism. And then the other thing is, this guy ends up, in order to justify Mormonism, he points to John Locke, who was an Enlightenment philosopher and really a sort of philosophical skeptic in some ways, or at least a religious skeptic in certain ways. And because the truth is that, you can't tolerate error, right? Toleration is what we do to people. We tolerate people, right? So if someone says something we don't like, we tolerate we tolerate that person. We do something that maybe pacifies the situation, or we just accept the insult or whatever, or we accept we don't respond to it or something like that. But we don't agree with them. If somebody says something false, if people say 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, it equals 5. Well, they're wrong, you see, and it's not their, like the way this guy is talking is that, oh yeah, it's just that's just your interpretation of mathematics. Well, it's not my interpretation of mathematics. 2 + 2 equals 4 everywhere. That is reality. That is a science. That is the understanding of the world around us. That if you have two coconuts and you add another 2 coconuts to your 2 that you originally had, you get 4 coconuts. Someone, as barbaric as somebody in the Cannibal Islands would have understood that, right? Like really basic stuff. It's not their truth versus my truth. If truth exists, then it's not just, oh yeah, well, heresy is whatever you want it to be. Like this guy, in order to justify Mormonism, this guy has to justify skepticism, really philosophical or religious skepticism, which basically tells us not to believe in any religions at all.
So his point in saying we're not supposed to tolerate error, that's what I'm doing right now. I don't have a soft spot for people who don't know what they're talking about. And I take it personally because I know your information is skewed, and you don't even get your definitions right, man. And you're a teacher, and you're making people pay for your knowledge. And I think that's what's getting to me, because I'm not a fighter, I'm not. But you are taking people's money to lie to them about my religion. I have a problem with that. I don't have problems with people who have different opinions. I don't, because I understand the world is a huge place and everybody has different experiences. They all live in different cultures. They live in different environments. So opinions are going to change just based on that. I fully understand that. I have a problem with error, and you are in error, and you need to fix it. This is ridiculous. This is honestly, it's a little shameful. It's embarrassing. You're at a university, you're teaching university classes, you need to do better. You need to be held to a higher standard. And that's it. That's my whole argument on it. That's you have a responsibility to do better for your students.